Hello, good afternoon, everybody. We wanted to hold true on our promise. So, here is Baby Drew, everybody. This is Baby Drew. He's sleeping. Baby KJ is what we're nicknaming him. He's doing well. Mama's doing well. Mama's going to be in the video today as well.
Mama's looking like a new mom.
But we're doing well. And we wanted to kind of somewhat get back to the normal routine as much as we can. So, today we're going to be in Ruth Chapter 3. Today we're going to kind of talk... it's an interesting chapter. I know that Woody has been interested in how we're going to handle this, so hopefully we'll do it in a good way. But anyway, it's going to involve a couple different weird actions maybe. It involves some grain, which with grain you can make bread, right? And so that leads to our first question. It just subtly goes right into it. Our first question is this. What's your favorite thing you've ever eaten that involves bread? So it could be a sandwich. It could be like, what's that stuff? Like bread pudding? Isn't that like something people eat? I don't know. What's your favorite thing that you've ever ate that involves bread? Morgan.
I really like crescent rolls.
Crescent rolls. All right.
But I don't think that's probably the best.
Mine is Jimmy John's.
Oh,
The bread is amazing at Jimmy John's. We have driven to Zanesville on purpose just to get Jimmy John's in the last month. So that's mine. Bread.
Okay, bread.
From Jimmy John's.
Bread.
You sticking with crescent rolls?
Yeah, I guess. I can't think of anything else.
So today we're in Ruth Chapter 3, and if you remember what's kind of taken place, Ruth married Naomi's son, and we remember in Chapter 1 that Naomi's husband has passed away. He died. And then 10 years later, both of her sons died, and she was left with two of her daughter-in-laws. And she convinced one daughter-in-law, Orpah, to go back to her homeland, but Ruth wanted to stay faithful to the family and to Naomi, so she stayed with her. They returned back to Bethlehem, and it would have been a difficult life because they both would have been widows. And so Ruth decides that she's going to be kind of like the provider for them, and she goes out and works in the fields. And she works in the fields that is owned by Boaz, and Boaz really starts to treat her well, purposely leaving food behind for her, inviting her to dinner and things like that, and he's really starting to treat her really well. And so in Chapter 3, Naomi's going to present her with an idea, and we're going to see how it unfolds. So I'm going to ask Morgan to read Ruth Chapter 3, I think 1 through 5. And if you haven't, go ahead and read Ruth 3 and then check back in here.
One day Ruth's mother-in-law Naomi said to her, "My daughter, I must find a home for you where you will be well provided for. Now Boaz, with whose women you have worked, is a relative of ours. Tonight he will be winnowing barley on the threshing floor. Wash, put on perfume, and get dressed in your best clothes. Then go down to the threshing floor, but don't let him know you were there until he's finished eating and drinking. When he lies down, note the place where he is lying. Then go and uncover his feet and lie down. Tell him he will tell you what to do." "I will do whatever you say," Ruth answered. So she went down to the threshing floor and did everything her mother-in-law told her to do.
Okay, so there's a couple weird things that are going to take place here. The first one is you probably caught, that she says that Boaz is a relative of hers. And what that meant is back in this time in the Bible, there was a thing called the kinsman redeemer. And basically what that was is if it was this well-known, I guess, like not a law, but like a custom that they had, that if your husband died and there was a relative that could continue on the family, it was his role to do that. So basically, Naomi's husband has died. Elimelech is how we're going to say it. He's died, and then her two sons have died. So there's no one to carry on the name. And so Boaz is in that family line. And so he is, I think they call him a redeemer. Mm-hmm. He's that guy. And so she's going to go present herself to him. She tells her to, get dressed and put perfume on. That's mainly because she would have been in grieving since the loss of her husband, and she would have been wearing special clothing to let people know that she was grieving and that she wasn't like open to a relationship and all of those things. And so Naomi suggests that she cleans herself up, puts some perfume on, and then go present herself to Boaz. But she asks her to present herself in a weird way. She's supposed to just show up when he falls asleep and uncover his feet. So I don't know how, that's weird, right? And so Morgan, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Can you explain what that kind of meant?
So it sounds like it's like intimate, sexual type weird move that you, like, that was the first thing I originally thought too, with putting on perfume and making yourself look pretty and then going and uncovering his feet. Just seemed weird. But it's a sign of being humble and being submissive to, as a servant. So one thing that we learned in studying this was that because he was the family's redeemer, it was Ruth's right to say, you need to marry me so that Naomi's family's name can continue. But the way that Naomi and Ruth went about this was they didn't go into it as, I have a right and this is what you owe me, but more of I am your servant and I'm asking you to please do this for our family. And I, in a submissive, I'm willing to serve you. I'm like humbling myself before you by like uncovering your feet and letting you kind of make the decisions. So it was more of a submissive, humbling act, and not what a lot of people probably think it was.
Yeah,
I mean, it's weird because it's not something we do, but
it's different. Yeah, I mean, it's different. But I think what's cool is she kind of stays true to herself. From chapter 1 till now, we've seen that she's kind of like this hardworking woman that's like going to do things the right way, and she's not going to throw the pity party and like say, you got to treat me this way because of what happened to me. But instead, she lives it that way.
And in verse 5, it says like she told her mother-in-law, I'm gonna do what you told me to do. She didn't question it. She didn't decide she wanted to do it her way, because there's a shot Ruth in her head was like, why do I need to do this when it's my right? But she did it the way that Naomi had instructed her to, which is another point at her character. Sorry, go.
So we're gonna skip ahead a couple verses. We're gonna skip like 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and go to 10. But what's gonna happen is he wakes up and finds this woman at his feet, which all of us would be scared if we just woke up randomly and there was someone in our room at our feet. But he was staying there at the threshing floor where they would have prepared all of this stuff, because it was a time of the harvest where the harvest had quit, and this would have been times where thieves would have started showing up and trying to steal things. And so he was like sleeping there to be on guard, and then he wakes up and there's a woman in his room. And so he wakes up, and this is how he responds. Morgan's going to read verses 10 through 15.
So it says, "The Lord bless you, my daughter," he replied. This kindness is greater than which you showed earlier. You have not run after the younger men, whether rich or poor. And now, my daughter, don't be afraid. I will do for you all that you ask. All the people of my town know that you are a woman of noble character. Although it is true that I'm a guardian redeemer of our family, there's another who's more closely related than I. Stay here for the night, and in the morning, if he wants to do his duty as the guardian redeemer, good. Let him redeem you. But if he is not willing, as surely as the Lord lives, I will do it. Lie here until morning.
All right.
Am I done there?
She laid there until the morning, basically. We'll end the story and go back and make a little more sense. She lays there till the morning, and then he sends her with some barley. It says six scoops of barley, and he sends her home to back to Naomi and says, I will work to figure out what we need to do next. But what takes place is he talks a lot about who Ruth is. He says that she's a woman of noble character, which that may sound familiar if you've read Proverbs 31. It talks a lot about what women should strive to be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example of who a godly woman is.
And so what's kind of neat is that you see how Boaz sees her. And what I think is neat about this is that you kind of see how they both respect each other. And they both have like a special place for each other in their heart. Maybe it's not like a romantic relationship yet, but they both see things and characteristics in one another that they really like. And so he's going to go on to even be like even more of the good guy, because he knows that yes, he is part of the family redeemer, but he understands that there's actually a guy that should be above him. So there's a guy closer to them that is next on the totem pole. And so he says, Ruth, I'll do it, but I have to find out if the guy above me wants to marry you first. And if he doesn't, then I'll do anything I can to help you. And so
that's a note to his character as well, because he could have just said, well, she came to me, so let's do it. But he didn't. He wanted to be respectful to the family and to Ruth and what her right was. And so he had, he was a very noble character as well, I suppose.
And so the chapter ends with him saying, I'm going to go try to figure this out. But he doesn't leave her empty-handed. Like we said, he sends her with some barley, and she gets to take that back to Naomi. And they kind of go back and they celebrate in the fact that things went better than they could have, right? It could have been real bad. He could have screamed at her for sneaking in his room and all this other stuff. But instead, there's a shot that she's going to get to marry this man and that their family will continue. And so we know this has been a weird chapter, especially if you don't understand some of the customs at the time, the feet thing and the relative thing. It might sound weird, but what's really neat is they're going by the way that they should. Like, they're following all the rules. And so in the relationship that they're building, they're taking all the steps that they can to do it the right way. And I think that's something that we can learn too, is, when we try to build relationships with people, we want to do it in the right way. We don't want to cut corners, or we don't want to jump certain directions, but we want to kind of do it in the right order. And so we want to leave you with this last question. And this may be a thinker. You may not think about this. You may think about this all the time. But what's one quality that you would want in your future wife or future husband? So I know some of you are like 12 years old and you're like, what? You're crazy. I'm never getting married. That's fine. But if you ever did, what kind of woman would you, what characteristic would you want? And ladies, I know that you dream of that princess wedding. So what would be a characteristic of the man that you want to marry be? So Morgan, what was the characteristic that I obviously fulfilled?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't know?
I'm just kidding. I definitely want someone who I don't know how to say that. I guess I always wanted somebody who was honest and truthful. And sometimes it's pulling teeth to get your honest truth out of you, but that's just when it has to do with how you feel about me usually. So, but as far as like someone who is going to be respectful and honest and truthful when it comes to like their life and the things that they do. And so
for me, I think I always wanted someone that I could see having a family with. So like someone that was like always striving to be better. Obviously someone that had a faith in God. And so what's neat is that I found somebody that helps build my faith. And so I guess that's really what I was looking for, was someone that was going to help me grow my relationship with God as well. And so we are excited to hear what you're looking for in your future husband or your future wife. We hope that you are doing well. We hope that soon that we can see you.
And you can meet baby KJ.
And you can meet baby KJ or baby Drew or Kelly, whatever you choose to call him. We gave him 6 names. You can just choose one. So we miss you guys. We love you guys, and we hope you're doing well.
Bye guys.